When the 2022 Lucid Air debuted, it started at $170,000. It proved to the world that packaging efficiency, performance, and range didn't have to be mutually exclusive. There was one thing it didn't solve, however, and that was the price. It was a very expensive car. But as Lucid has scaled production and introduced some less expensive trims, this sedan has become a lot more affordable. In fact, with current incentives from the automaker, you can get a new Lucid Air Pure for under $60,000, and you're still getting over 400 miles of range and solid EV performance. In today's video, we are going to explore the 2026 Lucid Air and determine if this sedan is finally at its prime. Before we start today's video, my name is Andrew Lambrecht. I'm a project engineer here at Ever, and I'm also a contributor at Inside EVs and Business Insider covering electric cars. As a note of transparency, I have previously interned at Lucid Motors working on the charging validation engineering team. It was a really cool experience, and I got to learn a lot about how the automotive industry functions while I was working there. But for today's video, I'm going to put on my hat of impartiality to discuss the Lucid Air and tell you everything you need to know about this electric sedan. Let's dive in. The 2026 Lucid Air is a full-size electric sedan manufactured by Lucid Motors in Casa Grande, Arizona. The Air is Lucid's only sedan in its lineup, sitting next to the Gravity SUV. The Air measures in at 195.9 inches long, positioning itself 3.3 inches shorter than the BMW 5 Series. It offers 4.9 inches of ground clearance and features a drag coefficient of just 0.197, making it the most aerodynamic production car sold in the United States. As for trims and pricing, the Lucid Air has four main variants. You have the Pure, which is the entry-level version, the Touring after that, the Grand Touring, and then the Sapphire, which is the flagship ultra-high performance Lucid Air that makes 1,234 horsepower and an equally as crazy $250,000 price tag. It's a very low volume car, so we're gonna ignore it for the purpose of this video. But first, we have the Lucid Air Pure. It uses a rear-wheel drive setup, makes 430 horsepower, can accelerate to 60 in 4.5 seconds, and offers 420 miles of range thanks to an 84 kilowatt-hour battery pack. It starts at $72,400 and weighs in at 4,564 pounds. The Pure is good for a peak DC charging rate of 250 kilowatts, and it comes with a decent array of standard amenities. You get 12-way power adjustable heated seats, a power trunk, a heat pump, ambient lighting, adaptive suspension, and Dream Drive Premium, which has adaptive cruise control, a 3D view camera, blind spot monitor, and auto park. Next up is the Lucid Air Touring. It starts at $81,400 and offers 620 horsepower thanks to 2 electric motors. It uses a slightly larger 92 kilowatt-hour battery pack that delivers up to 431 miles of EPA range. It can sprint to 60 in 3.4 seconds and has the same 250 kilowatt peak charging rate just like the Pure. It has the exact same array of standard features as the Lucid Air Pure, but now you can add on some additional amenities like the glass canopy and the leather seats. Finally, we have the Lucid Air Grand Touring all-wheel drive, which starts at $116,400. The Grand Touring weighs in at 5,204 pounds and uses a larger 112 kilowatt-hour battery pack. This larger battery is good for an EPA range of 512 miles, and the powertrain can deliver 819 horsepower and a 3-second 0 to 60 time. DC charging peaks at 300 kilowatts, and you get a really good array of standard amenities. They include 20-way power adjustable front seats that are heated, ventilated, and massaging, along with heated rear seats, a heated steering wheel, rear sunshades, a power frunk, soft closed doors, and a 21 speaker sound system. As for options, they vary based on which trim you get, but if you get a Pure, you have several options to choose from, including the Stealth package that is $1,750, and that basically has dark accents as opposed to platinum accents. You can also get the Surreal Sound Pro sound system for $2,900, and that gives you 21 speakers and Dolby Atmos. There's also the $2,500 comfort and convenience package, which adds on the heated rear seats, heated steering wheel, soft closed doors, rear center display, and backseat sunshades. If you get the Touring, you can spend $6,750 to get Dream Drive Pro, which allows for hands-free driving on the highway. You can also spend $3,000 on the Touring to get leather seats, or $4,000 to get the glass roof. The Grand Touring gets every package except for the glass roof and Dream Drive Pro, so it comes pretty well equipped as standard. On the topic of options, we have this particular Lucid Air I'm in, which is a Touring, and I have the window sticker right here, which has an MSRP of $79,900 plus $1,500 for destination, $800 for Zenith Red Metallic, $6,750 for Dream Drive Pro, $2,900 for Surreal Sound Pro, $1,750 for the 20-inch Aero wheels, $3,000 for the comfort and convenience package, $3,750 for the massaging front seats, and $1,750 for the Stealth Appearance package, delivering us a total MSRP of $102,100. But the thing is, Lucid has been offering some pretty crazy incentives on the Air, really bringing down the starting price. In fact, Lucid is currently doing $12,500 off the Pure and the Touring, and $15,000 off the Lucid Air Grand Touring. Plus, there's a $2,000 conquest bonus if you own a competitive make vehicle, and a $2,000 inventory bonus if you are ordering an in-inventory Lucid Air. With the Air credit alone, the Lucid Air Pure starts at $59,900, the Touring starts at $68,900, and the Grand Touring starts at $101,400. If you add on that additional $4,000 in offerings, the Lucid Air Pure is now less expensive than a new Tesla Model 3 Performance. These incentives have really made the Lucid Air a lot more affordable. Now with that in mind, let's check out the rest of the car. Starting around back, the Lucid Air has this nice teardrop design, ducktail spoiler, full width LED light bar, and surprisingly, a trunk. You would look at this car and you might think it would have a hatchback, but it doesn't. Lucid decided to do this mainly for NVH, and that's noise, vibration, harshness. Therefore, if you partition off the trunk and not have all that exposed interior volume, you can get a quieter cabin. And despite this car having a trunk, we have a tremendous amount of cargo volume back here. We get 22.1 cubic feet and this really accessible entry point. We also have a lower load floor area, revealing even more storage solutions. For comparison, the BMW 5 Series offers around 17 cubic feet of cargo volume. So in the Lucid Air, you get about 5 more. Up front, the Lucid Air has a clamshell hood that opens if you press and hold on the key fob. This particular front trunk is power operated because this car has the comfort and convenience package. But the really cool thing to know about the front trunk in the Air is that you get 10 cubic feet of cargo volume, and that's regardless of if you have a rear wheel drive or dual motor. We get 32.1 cubic feet of total cargo space in the Air. For comparison, the Mercedes S-Class is 209.5 inches long, and that car gets 12.9 cubic feet of cargo volume. In other words, the Mercedes S-Class is over a foot longer than the Lucid Air, yet has 40% of the Air's cargo volume. To get inside the Lucid Air, we have flush door handles along the side. They will open up when you get close with the key, sometimes because this proximity key doesn't really have the best range, and there's been a lot of times when I just need to manually unlock the doors to get them to open up. But to manually unlock the car, you press on the key fob 2 times, 1, 2, and then the door handles will pop out. You can grab them, open up, and one thing you will notice with these doors is that they have a very wide opening angle. So it's very easy to get inside the Lucid Air. Now, when you close the door, if you have the soft close door package, you just close it like that, and the door handles the rest. Now, once you're situated in the back seats, the first thing that sticks out is just the amount of space back here. So I have the front seats in positions that I was sitting in and my friends were, and even in the back seats, I have plenty of leg room. I can fit perfectly fine back here, and with this center armrest, I could probably take a pretty nice nap. Some other cool things about this back seat area is that the battery pack was actually molded around the passenger compartment. So they actually took out some battery modules around this lower floor area. So we have a totally flat floor surface and it's lower than the rest of the battery pack, meaning our seating position is really natural. So in a lot of EVs, you typically kind of like sit like you're squatting down just because the floor is so high, but not in the Lucid Air. I actually have a very normal seating position, a seating position that you would expect out of a luxury sedan. On the topic of luxury amenities and luxury feel, as standard, you will get the AC vents, 2 USB-C ports, and this Mojave Pure Luxe seating material. I gotta say, when I saw the spec sheet, I was really surprised because these feel very soft and very leather-like, even though this is not real leather. These seats are perforated, and if you opt for the comfort and convenience package, these seats will be heated. That package also comes with this rear center display screen where you can adjust the power sunshades and play with the climate control settings. Now, since this is the base leatherette interior, you do not get Alcantara headliner. So this is just a cloth headliner. It feels pretty nice, but it's not as premium as the leather interiors that get the Alcantara headliner. Some cool little features in this interior are a center console area. So there is a center console back here in the armrest. You also get a small storage compartment, and these handles located up here feel very sturdy. The craftsmanship is really good. Up front, the interior feels even more premium. So we have lots of really nice materials, more open grain wood, aluminum accents, fabric and leatherette on the dash. This particular Lucid Air has the optional heated, massaging, and ventilated seats. They are very comfortable, though the base 12-way power seats are still pretty good. As for amenities and space, this interior feels very open. So for instance, if you swipe up on the screen, it disappears and reveals more storage area. Behind this fabric cover, if you open it up, it reveals 2 cup holders, a USB-A port, a USB-C port, a wireless phone charger, and more storage space. There's even more storage space underneath this center console. And each door has a massive pocket where you can throw in pretty large water bottles. Pair all of this with a large wraparound center display that looks like it's floating, and the interior feels very futuristic. As for the audio experience in the Lucid Air, you get Surreal Sound as standard, and then you can upgrade to Surreal Sound Pro like this one has right here for $2,900. Surreal Sound Pro gives you a 21 speaker sound system setup with Dolby Atmos. Now, after having listened to this audio experience for around a week and comparing it to some of the other vehicles I've driven, I'd say it's pretty good. It's a lot better than Rivian's premium sound system, but not quite up to the level as Tesla or even BMW's Harman Kardon or Audi's Bang & Olufsen. But nowadays, fit, feel, and finish along with the sound system only tell one part of the interior experience. How's the software? As for software in the Lucid Air, we have 4 main screens. This is our center screen, and this controls a lot of vehicle functions. We can change the drive modes through here. We can also go into settings, press vehicle, and adjust more of how the vehicle functions. We can adjust the regen braking, hold mode, we can turn on or off creep, stability control, and more. But this is the main screen that you will interact with most. Located right above it is our center screen, and this is more for adjusting your music, your navigation, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, both of which are wireless, and just planning out an EV road trip. Located to the left of that is our gauge cluster. This is our main screen where we can see our speed, battery percentage, mileage, what drive mode we are in, what gear we are in, drive, reverse, neutral, etc. And then finally, on the far left, we have our screen where we can adjust our headlights, windshield wipers, lock and unlock the door, open the charge port, and open up the front trunk. And if you press right there, the front trunk will open up automatically, and to close it, you just press right there. Pretty intuitive. Going back to the main screen, we have a bunch of options in here. So first off, we have the seats. If you have the 20-way power adjustable seats like this one right here, then we can adjust all the additional functions such as the bolstering support, thigh support, and a lot of other stuff. These seats are massaging as well, so we have our 5 different massaging modes, and if you turn it on, it lasts for 20 minutes. The next menu item is the themes, and this is the ambient lighting. You can't really see it that well right now, and to be honest, it's not really that bright anyways, but nevertheless, we do have 6 different themes that give this car a little bit of a cool vibe at night. The charging menu is the final option, and this one is really good. So here we can set a charging limit, so we can set this down to whatever percentage we want it to. I'm just going to leave it to 100 for now because this is a press car. The bottom right area is our current limiter, and this is nice if you don't want the car to charge very fast on level 2, or maybe you're at an older house and you don't want to risk overloading the breaker, so then you can turn down the current right there. Pretty easy. The battery preconditioning button is located here. So maybe you're using Apple CarPlay, so the EV route planner isn't in use, so the car doesn't know when you're coming up to a charging stop. You can just press right there and the battery will warm up. Some settings are also done through the center screen, like the steering wheel, so if you want to adjust it, you do have to use the center screen to change the location of the steering wheel and also the side view mirrors. So this isn't like a Tesla where you click on it on the screen and then you can adjust on the steering wheel. You do have to use the center display. Our climate control menu is located here, and this is pretty intuitive. But the really nice thing about the Lucid Air is that we have physical climate control knobs. So right now, if I want to adjust the temperature, I can press right there. I can adjust the fan speed very easily. The volume is located in the center. These buttons aren't the most sturdy, but it has improved from the older Lucid Airs. So the really early, like 2022 Lucid Airs felt super flimsy. These don't feel incredibly solid, but I would say they are a huge upgrade over the outgoing ones. On our main screen, we can see our map, and typically it will default to home, so we can just see the time, temperature, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, etc. But if we click on the maps, something cool can happen. So we see this little pull down tab, and if we pull this down, then we can bring our map down to the lower display. So we can see it up there and down here. And this current view we are looking at is our range map. So this shows us a really cool range diagram of how far the car can travel based on our state of charge. And the really nice thing about this display is it's not a circle. So some cars have a circle that just show you, hey, this is like the general area where you can go. But the Lucid Air actually maps it out onto the road, so you can see exactly how far you can travel up which roads based on your battery percentage. That is a really awesome feature. Now, as a quick demo, if we want to see a road trip, let's say we want to go to San Diego. So I just type in San Diego, easily pops up there. I press go, and then the car will think about the route traveling down to San Diego. And there we go. We see our route, and it shows us our charging stops we will need to make. If we press edit, we can see exactly when and where we will need to stop to charge at, and exactly the battery percentage we will get to the charger at. If you also notice, this map is a lot more responsive than the outgoing Lucid Airs. So our screen is quite responsive when we pinch in and out to zoom. It's a lot better than the older Lucid Airs, which honestly felt kind of laggy by today's standards. Migrating north like a bird in spring, we have our gauge cluster. Now this is pretty minimalist, as you can see. In fact, off to the right, it literally just says Air. But if you have music playing, it will show the album cover located right in that area. Or if you have your maps even through Apple CarPlay, it will show your directions. It'll say, hey, you need to make a right turn in like half a mile. Other than that, we have our little camera located down there, and that's for two things. So if you get into the car and it recognizes your driver's face, then it will link up your profile. So if I'm in my profile and I sit inside, it will see that it's me, and then all my settings will go back to whatever I had them set as. It also works for the autonomous driving functionality called Dream Drive Pro. So you can sit and then this will monitor your face to make sure you are looking forward when the car is driving. The only issue is sometimes it can't see my face based on my steering wheel position. So it's a little weird. You would expect this camera to be located on the steering wheel like a GM EV does. Even the Ford Mustang Mach-E has it located on top of the steering wheel. But on here, it's located at the bottom of the screen. So you have to get your seating position right to make sure it sees that you're looking forward. On the topic of Dream Drive Pro, the button to activate it is actually kind of both here and here. You have to press this button, and if I press it, we'll see that Adaptive Cruise pops up. If I press and hold, then it will go into Drive Assist, and then you press this button to set the speed and turn on the system. If you want to cancel it, you press there. To adjust the vehicle lengths, you can press on here. Located off to the right, we have our previous and next track buttons, and we have our voice assistant. And if I press this, there we go. Increase the fan speed. Well, the fan speed has increased, which is really nice. It went up to fan speed 8. I'll just take that down. This voice assistant isn't particularly amazing, and it's still kind of weird. It still says thinking after increase the fan speed, but nevertheless, you have a voice assistant in this car, even if it's slightly mediocre. In sum, the software experience in the Lucid Air is pretty good. I definitely don't think it's anywhere near as advanced as a Tesla or a Rivian's infotainment system, and it's not even quite as polished as, say, BMW's iDrive. But it does the basic functions you want it to. It even has some cool tricks, like we have a creature comfort mode that's similar to Tesla's dog mode, and we have a good EV route planner, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. There have been some issues here and there with this infotainment and software. For instance, my Bluetooth would randomly cut out on my phone, and I did experience some audio interruptions. So sometimes the speakers would just randomly cut out, and this isn't great. So I will say, if you are looking at a Lucid Air, don't expect the software experience to be perfect. Expect some bugs and little glitches here and there. When it comes time to charge the Lucid Air, you get a 250 kilowatt peak rate on the Pure and Touring, and a 300 kilowatt peak on the Grand Touring and Sapphire. In our own testing of the Lucid Air Touring, we saw a 10 to 80% charge time of 31 minutes. This isn't particularly fast for an 800 volt EV, though it's really in line with a lot of 400 volt EVs out there like the Tesla Model S. For comparison, even the first generation Taycan can do 10 to 80% in around 18 minutes based on our testing. Since the Lucid Air uses a higher voltage architecture, this means there are some limitations when you use a lower voltage charger like a version 3 supercharger. If you plug into one of those, your car will have a peak of around 50 kilowatts. AC charging on the Lucid Air is 19.2 kilowatts for all trims, so that means regardless of what Lucid Air you buy, you can charge really fast on level 2 if your breaker is strong enough. But other than that, the Lucid Air offers two really cool charging features. The first is plug-in charge. So when I got to this EA station, I simply plugged in, the car did a handshake with the charger, and it just started charging the vehicle, billing the account. The second really cool thing is that the Lucid Air has V2V compatibility. This means you can charge another EV on level 2 from your Lucid Air's battery pack. In fact, the Lucid Air can offload 9.6 kilowatts of power to another EV. The Lucid Air has solid DC charging times, and the AC is really awesome thanks to the beefy onboard charger. And by the way, this is all done through Lucid's Wonderbox, which is their integrated onboard charger. Now, let's get this car out on the road and see how it drives. All right, now we are driving the Lucid Air. I may not have mentioned this in the charging and range section of the video, but in terms of the efficiency and real-world range you will get in the Lucid Air Touring, keep in mind I have the 20-inch wheels on this model, so its EPA is about 384. I'm looking at about 340 miles of real-world range, and that includes some country road driving and highway freeway driving, so a pretty decent mix of those two. And I was getting 3.7 miles per kilowatt hour with 2 other people in the cars. So it's definitely fair to say in the Lucid Air you will get over 300 miles of range in real-world driving. There's still a pretty negative delta with the Lucid Air's range, and we see this in a lot of 70-mile-per-hour range tests from out-of-spec studios, from Tom Moloughney's State of Charge, etc. But that isn't to say the range isn't good in the Lucid Air, because I think over 300 miles of range out of a 92 kilowatt-hour battery pack is really solid. Driving on the highway, the Lucid Air is incredibly comfortable, so the adaptive dampers do a great job of smoothing out the ride, and the car just feels very stable and very quiet at highway speeds. As for driver assist amenities, we get Dream Drive Premium as standard, which has a blind spot monitor and adaptive cruise control, so there is no lane centering on Dream Drive Premium. But then if you pay $6,750, you can get Dream Drive Pro, which then adds on hands-free driving assist on the highway. So you simply turn it on and you can let go of the steering wheel, doing this right now, let go of the steering wheel, and the car will drive you on the highway. This doesn't work on every highway, but this works on a good amount of roads that I've driven this on. It can also perform automated lane changes, so you simply put on your blinker and then the car will change lanes for you. I've found that Drive Assist is a pretty good amenity. That's what it's called, Drive Assist, and then if it's in the hands-free mode, it's called hands-free Drive Assist. It's pretty good. It makes mistakes sometimes, especially when you're getting near off ramps. The car will just kind of want to like migrate over that way, and then you have to grab on the wheel. And now horsepower. The Lucid Air Touring makes 620 horsepower, and Lucid says it can accelerate to 60 in 3.4 seconds. So we also have launch mode in all Lucid Airs, so left foot on the brake, right foot on the accelerator. All right, that was pretty brutal. That was a really good launch. Very little tire spin. And talking about tire spin, you can actually turn off traction control completely in the Lucid Air, and then this thing can become a very slidey and engaging vehicle to drive. Not that it isn't engaging normally, but it can just be kind of like crazy if you want it to be. So that's really cool. But now taking this car through some corners, this weighs 5,009 pounds, so it's a heavy vehicle, but I think the suspension in here does a fantastic job of keeping that ride really level, and the handling is also quite impressive in this vehicle. So just really cutting through these corners, this car is doing a phenomenal job for something that's this heavy. In fact, this car is about 500 pounds heavier than a Tesla Model S, but this drives far better. Truly, everything in this car, from the steering response, the steering feedback you get, the body rolling corners, the overall suspension feel, how this car feels very stiff through corners, but also when you're on the highway, it can feel pretty relaxed. This car is easily one of the best driving EVs on the road. It is very, very engaging to drive, and it just doesn't feel boring. And the most impressive thing about this car in terms of its dynamics is the fact that it does not have air suspension. So you would expect a premium sedan like this to have air suspension, yet it doesn't. It does have adaptive dampers, but it runs on steel springs. And what this really touches on, in my opinion, is that the suspension tuning is more important than the suspension type, because you can have cars with air suspension, I can name a bunch of them off the top of my head, that have air suspension that drive nowhere near as well as this car without air suspension. The other thing I like about driving the Lucid Air is the accelerator pedal feel. So I think it feels pretty taut, it's very responsive, and there is one pedal driving, which you can turn on or off, and you can even turn on or off creep mode. So there is a good amount of customization with that one pedal alone. The one pedal driving feels pretty good. I think the transition from acceleration to regen is very smooth, just how I like it in an EV. But the one thing that I do find a little lacking is that smoothness when you do come down to a complete stop. So it is a little bit jerky in that like 1 mile per hour, 0 mile per hour speed range. So just coming down to that complete stop could be a little bit smoother. Other than that, the car has a nice braking feel too, so even in one pedal driving mode, I let off the accelerator, we get a good amount of deceleration, and then I can press on the brake pedal and it feels pretty linear. So when I was at Lucid Motors, there was an intern discussion, fireside chat with Peter Rawlinson, and he is the now former CEO and CTO of Lucid Motors. He was also the chief engineer for the Tesla Model S. During this conversation, he was really hyper fixated on the way that the car drives. So that was steering feel, accelerator, pedal feel, all the stuff that you interact with when you are driving this car. And I hadn't really driven a Lucid Air that much. I think there was a test drive event and I got to drive it like 2 miles while I was there. But now, after having driven this car for about a week, I really understand what he's saying, because this car just drives so well. And that's the Lucid Air. So, as a verdict, what trim do we recommend of the Lucid Air? Well, to be totally honest, I think I'd just go with the Lucid Air Pure. And why would I do this? Well, I think the Lucid Air Pure is actually more fun to drive than the Touring because it weighs less and it's only rear-wheel drive. It also has a really good price tag, and with current incentives, it's under $60,000. In terms of options, I'd probably just put on the massaging and ventilated front seats along with Surreal Sound Pro. But other than that, having driven this Lucid Air for about a week and putting on almost 700 miles, I really have enjoyed my time with this car, and I'm actually a little sad to let it go. The Lucid Air isn't the perfect EV. In fact, I think the software still needs some improvement, but the overall package is very impressive. You have plenty of storage space, so much room in the back seats, and a driving experience that is truly unlike anything else. The Lucid Air is one of my favorite driving EVs, and now I think it's more competitive than ever. If you enjoyed today's video, please acquire a small piece of land in the Pacific Ocean and rename it the Island of Evercars Official. Or you can just press the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.